Hi guys, German Prepper here. In this video I have for you the words of Henry Sokolsky, Executive Director of the Non-Proliferation Policy Education Center, as first published in the National Interest. Full disclosure, Sokolsky served as Deputy of Non-Proliferation Policy in the Office of the US Secretary of Defense during the George H.W. Bush administration. So his words are not apolitical, but you really need to hear them. They are explosive. Let's start. Civilian nuclear plants in war zones are becoming ticking radiological bombs. As the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, readies itself to visit the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant in Ukraine, Western officials are sighing a sigh of relief. However, there is a worry they have yet to consider: how civilian nuclear plants in war zones are becoming radiological bombs that could ignite World War III. Seemed shrill? Late last week, the chairman of the Select Committee on Defence in the British House of Commons warned that any deliberate damage causing potential radiation leak to a Ukrainian nuclear reactor would be a breach of NATO's Article 5. Article 5 of the NATO Treaty requires all signatories to come to the defence of any alliance members that suffer an armed attack. How imminent might a radiological release be? Late Thursday, all external power to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant was cut off. The only source of electricity was the plant's emergency diesel generators, which had no more than 5 days of fuel to power the plant's essential safety and fuel cooling electric water pumps. Had those generators run short of fuel, which could be exacerbated by Russian pilfering, and the one remaining power line not been reconnected, a loss of coolant accident, think Fukushima, could have ensued in 80 minutes. Ukrainian authorities understand this. That's why last week they distributed iodine tablets to Ukrainians to reduce thyroid cancers if the Zaporizhzhia plant should blow. Romania, a NATO nation, also grasps this. Earlier in the month, its health minister encouraged Romanians to pick up free iodine pills at their local pharmacies. Last week, Romania's neighbour, Moldova, imported 1 million tablets for its own population. What these states appreciate is not only that accidents are possible in war, but that Russian President Vladimir Putin might intentionally assault Ukraine's nuclear plants, turning them into pre-positioned nuclear weapons, whose dispersal or radioactivity could force evacuations and frighten Ukraine's NATO supporters to relent. They also understand that the war's not over. There are 9 other Ukrainian power plants that Putin could attack in western and southern Ukraine. What is Washington's response? It has 2 big ideas, both nearly 70 years out of date. The first is to get IAEA inspectors to visit. I've supported this if it helps establish that the Zaporizhzhia plant is still Ukraine's, not Russia's. But no one should be under any illusions. The IAEA was founded 70 years ago to promote nuclear power and to conduct occasional nuclear audits, not to physically protect plants against military attacks or to demilitarize zones around them. The IAEA can't provide the Zaporizhzhia plant with any defences, nor will it risk keeping IAEA staff on site to serve as defensive tripwires. The second idea also hails from the Atoms for Peace program of the early 1950s. Build nuclear power plants everywhere, including in Poland, Romania, and unbelievably Ukraine. President Joe Biden announced a US-subsidized 6-reactor project for Poland 3 weeks after Russian military forces fired upon and occupied Zaporizhzhia. The State Department then followed in May with details on the construction of an American small modular reactor and of a related US taxpayer-funded nuclear simulator in Romania. Finally, in July, US-headquartered Westinghouse announced a joint agreement with Ukraine's state-owned nuclear utility to build at least 2 reactors in Ukraine. The unspoken assumption here is that Putin will never strike another reactor in Ukraine, Romania, or Poland. Maybe. But after condemning the West for backing Ukraine's views regarding Zaporizhzhia, former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev recently warned that there were reactors throughout Europe and that similar incidents are possible there as well. And it's not just Europe. South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan also have reactors at risk. Since Russia's occupation of Zaporizhzhia, each has increased planning and drills against Chinese and North Korean military threats to their nuclear plants. Washington should pay attention. It should take several steps, but 2 of the most important are dialing in peaceful reactors as pre-positioned nuclear weapons into its strategic deterrent strategy, and rethinking its enthusiasm for exporting reactors even into war zones. The first task requires clarifying when, and, if ever, it would make sense for US forces to fire on reactors overseas. It also entails determining how our forces might best deter and protect against attacks on friends' reactors meant to harm or coerce them. The second task demands examining what can be done physically to protect existing reactors overseas where US troops are or might be deployed. It also requires assessing how prudent constructing new nuclear plants might be in or near likely war zones and where those zones might lie. We cannot ask the IAEA to do this. It will not. But if we are serious about preventing the worst, including a nuclear-powered Sarajevo, we must. That's it, guys. I think you will agree the piece speaks for itself. A question for you all now to end. Do you have the pills mentioned in the piece? If you do, perhaps you would like to post details up in the comment section to help others out. As always, looking forward to reading your answers. Keep prepping, guys. Cheers for now.